Hey guys, Justice Curry here. All right, my fear. Well, like you probably have many fears, some irrational, some rational. We're going through life. There's a lot of big and scary things to be fearful of. You know, some people fear things with their marriage. Some people fear the apocalypse. Or I could go on list for hours about individual fears. Well, one of my fears that's relevant to this whole new channel dedicated to my thoughts and opinions from a law enforcement standpoint. I have thousands of stories that have existed with me throughout my almost 20 years in law enforcement. And when I say 20, I was a police cadet for 2 years, and then I was an officer for 18. 20 years of law enforcement. Well, I've always wanted to share a lot of these stories and situations that I've encountered throughout my time, but I was always hindered. You have a muzzle on because if you say the wrong thing, you put maybe an officer watches this or a supervisor watches a video and you give some story. You don't even say their name, but they know you're talking about them. And that can have real world consequences as far as discipline. And they can always find a policy that's vague and kind of, sorry, I was going up a hill. Trying to get back in shape. If the shape is like a pear. Well, they can always find a policy to discipline you, and no one wants to get disciplined. No one wants to get in trouble at work. So I was always walking a very fine line, and I've had many arguments with supervisors throughout the years. Even early in MySpace days, those old enough to remember MySpace, I posted a picture of me in uniform at work with the police car in front behind me, and hopefully I can find that and show that to you someday. And I got hammered, brought into the office. You're not allowed to share pictures on social media. I'm like, where does it say that? Well, this could happen and this could happen. And cops are paranoid human beings. I get it. I am too. We play the what if game to death. What if this happens? What if that happens? You're putting your family in jeopardy by letting people know that you're a law enforcement officer. And I was like, I don't care. That's my freedom. All these kinds of crazy things. So I was stiffened, whatever the word is. I took it down, and that happened a couple more times, even as Facebook started in its early infancy. Posted pictures talking about law enforcement, showing law enforcement, and I was brought in saying nope. And typically this was done by supervisors that were anti-social media, said you shouldn't have just because this is my opinion and I don't have social media because of all these A, B, and C reasons, you shouldn't either. And vague threats to say, hey, you need to knock that stuff off and take those pictures down or take those thoughts down. As I became a little more tenured, get 10 years on, and I go, I don't care anymore. I'm going to roll the dice. And as a newer officer, you're kind of intimidated. You want to fit in, you want to get promoted, you have all these expectations, so you kind of go with the flow and not try to create any waves. But you get to a certain grizzled state where you're like, I don't care anymore. What are you going to do? Fire? You're not going to fire me. And if you do, so be it. Well, anyway, to get back to my long tangent of a story, why I've kind of never started doing videos in the first place or sharing personal stories because of fear of retaliation of, supervisors. And then, you might be saying, well, you're quasi-retired now. You've left law enforcement. It's been under a year. Let's see, it's been about 6-7 months since I've left. Why didn't you start earlier? Well, there's always something kind of hanging over my head where I have concealed carry permit. I'm going to dumb it down and not use the correct verbiage, but CCW, CPL, the carry permit, that people can carry firearms, specifically handguns, concealed, and you need a special permit to carry those. And that's, or people can open carry, and you don't need a carry permit, and that's a whole different ballgame. Well, as law enforcement officers, you don't have to get a CPL license, and you can go under police credentials, especially current law enforcement and retirees. And then there's a statute, I don't have it in front of me, that says if you've been a police officer for 10 years, you can also qualify for this. And why it's different is you can carry weapons into prohibited zones, like bars. That's, the primary function is only alcohol or a certain portion of their business, or schools, or certain areas where normal CPL holders could not carry their firearms. Cops could, under those three categories. Off duty. Well, since obviously I qualify with the off-duty carry, I would have to have 25 years in to retire, so I still qualify because I had 10 years plus in. But the chief made it perfectly clear that if you make a post, you make anti-police rhetoric, you say something, which I would never do. This is at his discretion. Let's just say that. And made me sign paperwork saying, like, I'm giving you this department ID and a little card to show that you can carry off duty. I keep saying off duty. I'm not on duty anymore. But I'm giving you this card, and I can retract this card, wink, wink. And that's always kind of felt like it was over my head of, I need to be overly cautious because I want to start telling stories. I'm not going to say people's names and embarrass families. I'm going to be as vague as possible because these are my brothers and sisters in law enforcement, and I support them to the day I die. But there's a lot of humorous stories, a lot of bonehead mistakes throughout my years, things that I've seen. I want to dive in and not be hindered on what I say. So that's always been something that I've been paranoid or concerned about with. If I say the wrong thing, one of these officers that may or may not follow me on social media, and they'll provide this link to the chief or to one of his people and say, hey, look what Justice said. And then next thing I know, I'm getting a text message, an email, and it wouldn't be, hey, explain yourself. And it might be, hey, take that post down, I don't like it. Or there's not even going to be an argument. It's, I want you to come back immediately, turn in your credentials, and you're not allowed to be under police qualifications. Which then I just have to go through the motions and get a CPL carry permit, and I just would be prohibited in taking him into some of those zones. Which, who knows if he would even do that. I always, and I'm going to mention it 8 million times in my stuff, in my videos and posts, anything's possible. Anything. A meteor falling out of the sky, like I've said, hitting me in the head. That's possible. But is it probable? Not probable. I'm not concerned about it. Now, is this possible? Yeah, it's possible. Is it probable? I don't know. And that's one of my primary concerns, as this is an infantile channel. I haven't gone too deep into it. I hope it's not a self-fulfilling prophecy where I talk about it and bang-o, it happens. And then I can bring this video up and go, see, I put my foot in my mouth and I said the wrong thing. Which I'm going to say the wrong thing many, many, many times because I can't help it. I'm human, but I also, I've been muzzled for 20 years, speaking my opinions, political matters, interdepartmental matters, police culture, things that no matter what you say, you're going to offend. There's no way you can ride the fence anymore. And you can try your best, but you got to speak the truth and not be worried. And that's my own personal struggle, is being a worrywart. Worry about this, worry about that, worry about the possibilities. But I'm done, at least in this effect. I'm done worrying. And that's why I'm going to spread my wings, go on with this channel. Like I said, one person watches it. If nobody watches it, it's fun to walk through the woods and talk with you guys, because normally I'm listening to podcasts, normally I'm listening to the Bible, but I need to change it up every so often and kind of speak my mind. And if I'm not authentic or real, what's the point? I call this officer therapy. It's therapy for me to get it out to you, and sometimes it's therapy for you guys because you might relate in a certain element, certain regard to something I'm going to say in the future. Because when I share my weaknesses, which I have many, share my struggles, my problems, I love to hear feedback from other guys. You know, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. I read that book early in my marriage. You know, guys talk about our problems and we want feedback from other guys. I can enjoy constructive criticism. People give me ideas all the time, and some of them I go, yep, that's valid, and some of them I go, nope, don't believe that. Women, on the other hand, they just want you to listen to their problems and not go, well, this is what you should do. Let's attack this problem head on. You need to talk to the coworker and say, blah, blah, blah. And that's gotten me in trouble in my own marriage many, many times, where I want to fix my wife's problems and offer insight, and she's just going, just listen to me. Just listen. All right. So, in a nutshell, I spent, 12 minutes when I could have condensed this video down to about 30 seconds. I haven't done social media, talked about my opinions, talked about real life situations throughout my career, because I was always in fear of retaliation, consequences, and the small chance that they could take my my credentials, which would be shameful. But really, is it? Whatever. I gotta be me, and I'm not going to be muzzled. You can't muzzle this giant mouth. All right. Love you all. Be kind to one another. Take care. Thanks, Ma, for watching, because you're probably the only one that lasted to the very end. See ya.